Have you ever really stopped to think about what you're made of? I don't mean in some deep philosophical way. I mean literally. What are the actual chemical ingredients that make you, you? Well, today we're going to open up the recipe book for life itself and unpack the incredible chemistry behind it all. You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Whether you're looking at a bee buzzing on a flower or you zoom all the way into the tiniest cells in your own body, the science at work is exactly the same. And that science, the study of all the chemical reactions happening inside living things, is what we call biochemistry. It's truly the universal language of life. So that brings us to the big question, right? What are these essential ingredients? What are the absolute non-negotiable components you need in the recipe for any living thing on this planet? Okay, let's dive in. It turns out that all of life, in all its mind-boggling diversity, really boils down to four major groups of biochemical compounds. You can kind of think of them as the flour, the sugar, the eggs, and the butter of existence. We're going to go through each of these and figure out what they are and what they actually do. But before we get to the ingredients, let's just make sure we're all on the same page with this one definition. Biological chemistry isn't just a boring list of chemicals. No. It's the study of the reactions, the dynamic, constant action that builds, powers, and runs every living thing. It's the how behind the what. All right, kicking things off with ingredient number one, or, well, ingredients 1 and 2, really. The fuel. Every living thing needs energy to do anything, and for that, we turn to carbohydrates and lipids. These are what provide the power your body needs to do, well, everything. So first up, carbohydrates. These are basically life's main source of fuel. They're all made from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and you know them as sugars and starches in your food. From the tough cellulose that makes plants stand up tall to the glucose powering your brain right now, carbs are just absolutely fundamental. Okay, here's a fun little brain teaser that actually shows a property of carbs in a super simple way. You've probably seen this before, right? A can of regular soda sinks in water, but the diet version just bobs on the surface. What is going on there? The answer is the sugar. A can of regular soda is packed with so much sugar, which is a carbohydrate, remember, that it actually makes the liquid inside denser than water, so the whole can sinks. But the sweeteners in diet soda? They're insanely potent, sometimes 200 times sweeter than sugar. That means you only need a teeny tiny amount, so the can stays light and happily floats. Pretty cool, right? Next up in our fuel category are lipids, which most of us just call fats. And yeah, they're another huge source of energy, but their job description is way bigger than that. They're crucial for long-term energy storage, kind of like a backup power bank for your body. They also form the outer layer of all your cells, act as the building blocks for hormones, and even provide insulation to keep you warm. These guys are true multitaskers. And get this stuff isn't just for textbooks. It has some seriously cool real-world applications. Take a forensics lab, for example. Scientists there use these exact principles, their understanding of carbs and lipids, to analyze evidence and figure out what kind of organic materials might have been left at a crime scene. Okay, so we've got our fuel. What's next in the recipe for life? Well, you need the builders. If carbs and lipids are the gasoline, then proteins are the workers, the machines, and the actual building materials that construct and run the entire operation. Proteins are these incredibly complex three-dimensional molecules. But here's the wild part. They're all built from a set of just about 20 smaller units called amino acids. The best way to think about it is like Legos. With just 20 different kinds of bricks, your body can build a nearly infinite variety of microscopic machines, each designed to do a very specific job. And what kind of jobs are we talking about? Well, pretty much everything. They form the structure of your body, your hair, your muscles, you name it. They act as enzymes, which are like little helpers that speed up all those chemical reactions we've been talking about. They're like tiny delivery trucks carrying oxygen in your blood. And they're the frontline soldiers of your immune system. The bottom line is, without proteins, life would just stop. So we have our fuel and we have our builders, but for this whole construction project to work, you still need two more absolutely critical things. A blueprint with all the instructions, and the energy currency to pay the workers. And that brings us to our final ingredients, nucleic acids and the engine of metabolism. First things first, the energy currency. All this building, all these reactions, all this work, it all costs energy. And in the world of biology, the universal payment for getting anything done is a single molecule, adenosine triphosphate, or just ATP for short. Honestly, the best way to think about ATP is like a tiny rechargeable battery. When the battery is fully charged, that's ATP.
The cell then uses that energy to do some work and the battery gets drained, turning into ADP. But then the energy from the food we eat, from those carbs and lipids, comes in and recharges that battery, turning ADP right back into ATP, ready to be used all over again. And that brings us to our final ingredient, the master plan itself. Nucleic acids, and the most famous one, of course, is DNA, are the blueprints. They contain all the genetic information, the complete instruction manual for building every single one of those proteins and for running the entire organism.
Now, there are two main types you need to know about. Think of DNA as the priceless master blueprint. It's kept super safe, locked away in the cell's nucleus. But you don't take the master blueprint to a messy construction site, right? No, you make a working copy. And that's RNA. RNA is the messenger that takes a specific set of instructions out of the nucleus and delivers it to the cell's machinery, telling it exactly which protein to build next. So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see how beautifully it all connects. The carbs and lipids from the food you eat provide the raw energy. Your body converts that energy into those rechargeable ATP batteries, and that ATP then powers the construction of proteins, all according to the master instructions laid out in your DNA. It's just this incredible interconnected system.
And that leaves us with one final kind of mind-blowing thought. We've just gone through the entire ingredients list for life. We have the fuel, the building blocks, the energy, and the blueprint. But what is the recipe? What is that unbelievably complex process that takes these simple chemical compounds and orchestrates them into something as amazing and complex as a living, thinking human being? Now that is the real wonder of biochemistry.